Welcome to CaseVault's Saturday episode. Today's episode is on the famous and mysterious serial killer, the Zodiac Killer. The first case of the Zodiac Killer happened on December 20th, 1968, on a secluded road in Benicia, California, known as a Lover's Lane. Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, a young couple, were along the Lake Herman Road. A few minutes later, a man parked along their car rolled down his window and asked the couple to exit the vehicle. The couple, however, refused, and so the man came out of his car, brought out a pistol, and instead of shooting at them directly, however, he fired a shot at their rear left wheel housing. In panic, Betty and David scrambled to the passenger side to exit the vehicle. The shooter rushed to them and pointed his gun at David's left ear, shooting him point blank in the skull. By this time, Jensen had already exited the vehicle and was running away. The shooter ran after Jensen, pointing his gun and shooting her 5 times in the back. He then returned to his own vehicle and drove off. Later, around 11 p.m., a woman came across the bodies of the young couple and reported it to the police, thereby beginning the search for the most mysterious serial killer. He terrorized most of the San Francisco larger areas with murders and also sent letters describing how he did them. These letters were then sent to several newspapers and police departments, along with complicated codes and ciphers that still haven't all been decoded. After the first murder, the Zodiac Killer remained quiet for about half a year before he committed his second murder. On July 4th, 1969, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau, who came out of their driveway, noticed they were being followed. They eventually pulled up at the parking lot at Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo. The pursuer also came into the parking lot and parked his car to the left of their vehicle before leaving the parking lot. However, 5 minutes later, the same vehicle came back into the parking lot, and this time parked directly behind the couple's vehicle. A man exited the vehicle with a flashlight, and the couple, thinking it was a police officer, tried to bring out their identification cards. But before they could bring it out, the man shot them more than 7 times before he started walking back to his car. Darlene died immediately, but Michael still retained consciousness, making him groan due to the pain, which made the shooter pause and for a brief moment allowing Michael to see his face. However, the man, noticing that Michael was still alive, came back to finish him, firing 2 more shots at both of them. He then returned to his vehicle and drove off. Later, 3 teenagers stumbled upon the scene and alerted the police. The strange part of this case was that later on the same day, an anonymous man called the police department and reported about the murder, while also claiming that he did it, making it the Zodiac's first contact with the police. Later on August 1st, 1969, the Zodiac Killer sent his first 3 letters to 3 different San Francisco Bay Area newspapers: Vallejo Times-Herald, the San Francisco Examiner, the San Francisco Chronicle. The letters were nearly identical and each contained 1/3 of a 408-symbol cipher, Z408, in which the killer claimed his identity was encoded. He demanded the letters and cipher be printed on the front page of the newspapers, threatening a killing rampage if they were not published. The Times-Herald and the Chronicles both complied with his demands immediately, while the Examiner waited till Sunday to publish theirs due to doubts. The cipher was quickly passed to the authorities for deciphering. The letter was later published to the public, and a couple who saw it in their newspaper and loved ciphers since they were young decided to try and decipher it. They were able to decipher it, and it said, "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest, because man is the most dangerous animal of all to kill." It also says about his thrills for killing. After the cipher had been solved but not released to the public, 3 days later, the Zodiac wrote a second letter to prove he was the killer of the previous couple. At this point, the decoded cipher was published all over the Bay Area, and all code breakers turned their attention to it thoroughly. On September 27, 1969, the Zodiac killer's third victims were Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, who were attacked at Lake Berryessa in Napa County on September 27, 1969. Hartnell survived the stabbing, but Shepard died from her injuries 2 days later. During the ordeal, the man, after having tied both the couple, told them that he would have to stab them. He then proceeded to stab me, Cecilia, 10 times and Brian 6 times. He then went up to the couple's car and wrote down a few details containing the date, time, and weapon of the murder. The couple were found by a fisherman and his son and were taken to the hospital. At 7:40 p.m. on the same day, the Zodiac called the Napa Police Department and reported the crime while also claiming he did it. Later on, Cecilia died while Brian survived and explained the ordeal to the police and press. Only 2 weeks after his last murder, the Zodiac killer's fourth confirmed attack was the murder of Paul Lee Stein on October 11, 1969, in the Presidio Heights neighborhood of San Francisco. Stein, a 29-year-old cab driver, was shot once in the head at 9:30 p.m. When this happened, 2 teenagers who lived across the street saw this and called the police. Later on, an image of the Zodiac was drawn and circulated to every cab company in the area. On October 14, 1969, only 3 days after the murder, the Chronicles received another letter from the Zodiac. On March 22, 1970, Kathleen Johns, her infant daughter, were allegedly abducted by a man believed to be the Zodiac, but she managed to escape from his car. Around a month later, on April 19, 1970, the Zodiac sent another letter and cipher claiming that he had killed 10 people till date. For the next 4 years, around 8 Zodiac letters were sent to the Chronicles. One more cipher was sent, which, when deciphered, apparently contained the information about a bomb that would go off in the fall of 1971. However, no bomb was ever found, nor did any detonate. In one of the letters, the Zodiac claimed responsibility for the abduction case of Kathleen Johns. His final letter came on January 30th, 1974, on which at the end he claimed to have had 37 victims. But the police had only confirmed 5 murders and 2 attempted murders, prompting them to think that his claim of 37 murders to be an over-exaggeration. But he did, however, say in one of his previous letters that he would stop announcing his murders, thereby making his murders within the range of 5 to 37. Some of the suspects named by the police include Arthur Lee Allen being the top suspect, Richard Gaikowski, and the final and one of the most popular suspects is Earl Van Best Jr. Throughout the late 1960s and 1970s, the fear of the Zodiac killer gripped the whole San Francisco area, and some of his ciphers are still being decoded till this day. Thank you for watching this episode on the Zodiac Killer. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more episodes every Saturday.